Hello, I'm Abigail, or Abby Johnson, and this is my PowerPoint on a deeper dive into what Down syndrome is. Let's begin. Part 1. What exactly is Down syndrome? Down syndrome is a condition in which a child is born with an extra copy of their 21st chromosome. It's from an article in Healthline Media in 2019. In fact, because of this extra 21st chromosome, it is also nicknamed trisomy 21. There are a lot of complications related to Down syndrome, like more than I honestly thought there would be. Due to the effects of this disability, many complications are prevalent. Sometimes those who struggle with it have mental and physical effects, like the flattened face. Some are delayed learners, and sometimes their lifespan is sadly cut all too short. Being the most common genetic disorder, 1 in every 700 babies are born with Down syndrome to some degree, according to the National Down Syndrome Society, abbreviated NDSS. That means that roughly 6,000 babies are born in the United States with this disorder every single year. This is from the NDSS article in 2021. In fact, the earliest it can be spotted or identified is during prenatal testing in pregnancies. For those who struggle with it, Down syndrome also sadly provides a gateway for a host of other complications, including things such as hearing loss, ear infections, problems with vision or eye health, infections due to a lower immune system, obstructive sleep apnea, musculoskeletal problems, heart defects, gastrointestinal issues, hypothyroidism, blood disorders, and even epilepsy. This is from an article written by Fergus in 2021. And right here, this is an example of a handicapped parking spot. Probably you've seen them, but you've never stopped to notice them. This is for people who have physical disabilities, and it makes them easier to get to and from the place and right back to their car. And we need to leave those open for them. That's why there are fines if you park there. Down syndrome is also associated with joint instability, leading to hips and knees that may easily become dislocated. That is also from Fergus's article in 2021. Part 2. Challenges that Down syndrome poses to students in the classroom. Keeping in mind that from the challenges listed on the last 2 slides, it is a definite that students who have Down syndrome will have a much harder time in the classroom than most of the other students. Depending on the student's case, their Down syndrome could be a small fraction, or it could be on the more severe end of the spectrum. It is not at all an easy feat to effectively teach an entire classroom of students, as well as 1 or more students in there that have Down syndrome. And this is true for any level of learning, from preschool all the way to college level. There are cases where students have auditory and or visual complications. Some are more prone to infections and cuts and scrapes. Kids playing on the playground get them, and they could easily get an infection. Some of them comprehend and learn at a much slower pace than their peers. And some could actually even start to seize. They can start seizing in the classroom right in the middle of a lecture. Not only is it more difficult to prepare a lesson for these students that they will comprehend, but instructors that have them in their classes also have to have at least a basic fundamental basis to know what exactly this disorder is and what to do if anything were to happen during the lesson. Again, they could start seizing in the middle of a lecture, and you need to know what to do right then. Common additional difficulties that may be present in students with Down syndrome include things like dyspraxia, and apraxia. For those that don't know, dyslexia is when a student's eyesight is reversed. This makes it hard for them to sound out words, makes it hard for them to recognize words, harder to read words, and harder to write words. And obviously math is much more difficult than it already is. Dyspraxia is when people have a harder time refining their fine motor skills. Having dyspraxia can affect anything from a person's gait and walking to their ability to hold a pen or pencil in their writing. And I'm going to mispronounce her name. Beautiful Meredith Cicerchia from the University of Nottingham wrote this in 2020. Wonderful researcher. I suggest you check out her work. Lastly, apraxia is when the fine motor skills around the face are not in sync with the brain. This causes the individual to have difficulty using the correct muscles in the mouth and the face to show their correct emotion, and why they have a hard time being able to formulate the words. Part 3. Common accommodations for Down syndrome. Accommodations and obviously modifications are no doubt going to be used frequently throughout the entirety of the school year. A given for those with audio issues will need lessons that lean heavily on visuals, and the reverse is true for those with visual impairments. Students with Down syndrome may follow a different curriculum to their peers, or it could be that lessons are the same, but grading standards and assignment specifications are different. Also taken from Cicerchia's article in 2020. Of course, depending on the specific case of the student who has Down syndrome, no one method is tried and true. Other accommodations include, but are not limited to, typing rather than writing the assignments, more use of and access to technology to complete their assignments, and others. Again, as stated before, it all depends on the circumstances and what the student or students struggle with, and what they have access to at school and at home. What are some modifications to the classroom lessons and assignments for Down syndrome? As I said prior to now, there are many accommodations and modifications for this disability. While the ones mentioned before are common, they are just a few of the basics. Researcher Meredith Cicerchia of the University of Nottingham highly recommends these strategies. Ensure learning is multisensory. Encourage the use of technology. Help them stay focused. Help them feel comfortable. Help them stay focused. Give them tools to stay organized, develop relationships, accommodate physical impairments, and last but not least, encourage and motivate them. I realize this probably ran just a few seconds longer, but there is just so much jam-packed into what Down syndrome is that I feel like I could be ready to just give a full hour-and-a-half presentation just on this information. There is so much that I was not aware of personally, and so much that I really want to share with other people. And, of course, reference page. It is included with the assignment submission. There's also the YouTube link provided if you have trouble viewing this video. And other than that, that has been my presentation, and I hope you discovered a couple of things, hopefully. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and hopefully have a new light shed on what Down syndrome is. Thank you.